one day this summer I'll take a ride and see what I could see.
Yeah, along that shelf is the best place to talk into Montreal if you want to talk long distance from up north. Because once you reach the top of the shelf and go over the other side, you're gone from Montreal. That point is La Porte du Nord, because the highway goes up to La Porte du Nord, and then after that it goes down as you're going toward Saint-Adèle.
Hey everybody.
The repeaters are centering con at that point.
How are you? This is I'm surprised to hear a conversation of ham radio operators on a repeater on 224.900, 224.900. Not a frequency range. I see a lot of activity. It's also there on the RSP1 here at 224.900.
Well, the reason I know that area so well is because Raymond and I did a lot of reconnoitering for
224.900.
For amateur radio talking into Montreal.
So I don't hear a lot of activity on that frequency range usually. And I've got the Yisu here, FT450. So if there's anything on shortwave, we can tune from there. I've plugged it so that it's actually working. So hey everybody, welcome aboard. This is the VHF UHF portion of our shortwave or of our radio shows. This is a once a month show on the last Saturday of the month, and of course we'll be checking out. We got a few questions, and we got just going to take a look at what's happening in the range above 30 megahertz. Lots of stuff, and I do have quite a number of questions that have come in of different people wanting to know, and I like to take the questions and answer them live, because usually when somebody asks a question, there's a lot of people out there that actually also want to have an answer to that question. So we're going to try to entertain and, of course, hope you guys have fun. So my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We're, of course, here to answer questions and talk about the spectrum above 30 megahertz. We're going to talk a little bit about railroad communications that are available on the VHF UHF range. Something that was asked this week in one of the Facebook groups that I've seen, and it's a question I get from time to time. People say, can we still hear railroad communications on the scanner radio? And if there's still one of the aspects of scanner radio that's still quite pretty much analog and hasn't changed that much, railroad communications still pretty much in the same old style. Of course, there are some some places where they've updated all of that, and there could be a few places where they're starting to use some digital modes, but in general it's still open in the clear analog communications. So we have a chat room. If you enjoy and want to share and talk with other people, there's a nice little chat room here where we talk about all of this. I don't know how long the show is going to be today. I tend to have these shows a little shorter than the shortwave show. It all depends on what we're going to have to talk about, and how the things go with the aspect of radio listening. Hello there, Matt Mbali from Colorado. Nice to have you here. Jack N9IIF. Nice to have you on board. Fastload. Nice to have you on board from a little bit on the north side of where I live. Not very far. Nice to have you here. Dan Walsh. Nice to have you on board. And it's a kind of sunny Montreal. It's not a bad day. I went to the grocery store to kind of stock up on food, and actually temperature wasn't too bad today. It's cool. I mean, it's wet. It's -8, -9 Celsius, but it's not. There's no wind, so it's like we're pretty comfortable outside. Bullfrog KD2CXU, nice to have you on board from Albany, New York, and just started messing around with DSD Plus digital pager decoding. Cool, that's kind of fun. I'm on the process here of checking out with SDR Sharp and different plugins to decode different digital modes that are available in the VHF UHF range, using either the either SDR Uno or a standard RTL dongle, and we'll be talking about that soon. Dan Walsh, nice to have you here, of course. Bobby Burgess, nice to have you on board from Louisiana, USA. Paul Reber, nice to have you here. Sean Fahey, hey there. Cosmic Lettuce, nice to have you on board from southeastern Arizona. I've actually listened to our radio, very cool, Railroad Radio, or I guess, pretty cool stuff, to Radio Comms, nice to have you here from Northern Ireland. Bobby Burgess is listening to a local repeater from Amelia on 145.210 FM. Like I said, I was listening to one on, here I have the Pro 2006. I don't know if it's visible on the, no, it's just below. I've got the Pro 2006 right here, just to show you guys, right here. And it's, it was on 224.900, a spectrum where I don't hear a lot of activity, honestly. And most of the time I don't hear nothing, actually. So let me just also make sure that I have my tablet not very far, because, we'll take a look at some of the satellites that will be crossing overhead. I just need to find my tablet, which is somewhere, I guess. And just a second, guys, I need to find the nice tablet to do this. It won't be very long. Nothing worse than losing your tablet. Well, it wasn't very far, so it shouldn't be very far. I guess maybe I actually put it under all the junk here. Is it possible that it's in here? It's not. What the hell did I do with the tablet? It really shouldn't be very far, usually. I use it quite regularly, and I can't find it. So I guess we'll have to do a show without the tablet. How can you lose a 10-inch tablet? That is the question, of course, all the time. But, with the state of how things are here, usually it's something that happens quite often. I'll just go take a look one last time in the bedroom. Oh well, kind of misplaced the tablet somewhere, but anyways, we'll try to, if I ever have a weird moment where I kind of find it, I'll let you guys know. It's not here. Oh, it's here, right here in the back. And when you put something somewhere where you never put it before, that's what happens. So, we'll be tracking satellites with the tablet, so we'll be checking out what's available in the sky. So we'll be checking out everything from here. So that will be, of course, I kind of like tracking satellites when we're on VHF UHF also, and check out what's sorry guys, still have a little bit of that cold left. So we'll take the Heavens Above app, and we'll be looking at what's available. Apart from that, NL13851, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. Ronald Hester, nice to have you here from North Carolina. Sorry guys, it's my throat is a mess. Bob Geist, nice to have you here from sunny Long Island, New York. Randall Klontz, nice to have you on board from Chicagoland. Radiocom says we have 65 mile per hour winds heading our way, so had to drop the antennas down. Oh, that's sad. My antennas have been pretty much... man, I'm going to take my sip of beer here. Okay, so my antennas have been holding on with all the with all the wind and the bad weather, but sorry guys, I really have a hard time here. Hey, there's a satellite. Let's check it out here. CAS 4A 145/870. Let's check out if we can hear any satellites communications in upper sideband. And so 870. There's a lot of noise here. You can see that. Well, I've got... Oh yeah, there is some satellite comms. I just heard something. So this is the Morse code beacon on 145.856. The satellite communications are about 20 kilohertz, centered on 145.870. Well, what are these interference here that I get? So weird. So anything here? Look at that. Station in Georgia on 145.878.2 from the satellite. Pretty cool. I like these satellites. Whiskey 4 November Charlie, I believe. Sierra November Charlie. So what you're hearing there is actual amateur radio operators that are talking across CAS 4A, CAS 4A amateur radio satellite. It's kind of cool. I like to listen to these sets. It's kind of nice. Anyways, we'll check out some of the most interesting ones that will come through in the show today. Some nice ones. These are not really nice. Around 4 p.m. we'll have that the same satellite with a better pass coming through. It's gonna be nice. I'll have a question for you guys. There's no 119 satellite coming through. I tried to decode weather maps using weather to image. Not very successful yet. So we'll be checking that. So, Unpopcom, nice to have you here from South Central Pennsylvania. Jerry DX, nice to have you here. And yeah, the bathroom is usually my phone. and the tablet is usually my anywhere else. Calvin 29, nice to have you here. Yeah, pretty much, Bobby. Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Randy in Riverside, California, nice to have you on board. Luis Arevalo, nice to have you here. And what is the best way to program trunking frequencies, by hand or PC? Well, if your scanner is easily interfaced with a PC, it is much easier to use a PC to enter the frequencies, especially some of the trunking frequencies. Sometimes does that control frequency, and there's many channels. It gets kind of tedious and kind of difficult at some point sometimes to just go through and start entering all the frequencies by hand. Especially on a scanner, it's not like, it's not that it's difficult, but it's not the best option. So of course, if you do it by computer, it's easy. Also, depending on what you have, you got a Burkett BCD996P2. What happens is that you can sometimes get already, like all the lists of trunked frequencies and import them within your software and then send them to your scanner, which is much easier, honestly. William Helms, nice to have you on board from Florida. Yes, that's what's happening, Fazlo. I'm getting a fur ball. Calvin, slightly unrelated to radio. Any idea of a good telescope to get starting off? I know you're into astronomy a bit. Cosmic Lettuce would be probably maybe a better person to ask for that type of question. But stay off really cheap telescopes, first of all. I don't know what's your budget, but you can have a pretty decent one today with the computer control, so that it's easy to pinpoint the objects you want to see in the sky. I tend to always like the major brands, like Celestron. What's the other one? There's Mead. But I think Cosmic Lettuce would have a maybe a better. He would be a good guy probably to let you know what type. It depends on what what budget you have for the telescope. Well, that's the problem, Calvin. The satellites passing overhead with the telescope are kind of difficult to see because they're moving really, really fast. And telescopes are built to follow objects that don't really move very fast in our sky as the Earth turns, for sure. Max S. Strong, nice to have you here. Nothing on your side, fast load. Well, I got to say, I got it quite easy. I'm surprised with that mobile vertical antenna I've got in the back for satellites. Pretty amazing. We're going to check out that same satellite's coming back in about 40 minutes time. So we'll be checking that out again. A085, I'm curious of this one. Is A085 going to come back soon? No, that's probably one of the, yeah, it's coming back at almost 5 p.m. That one would have a nice pass. So anyways, we'll go through the list here. The next one that would be interesting probably, there's A07 that's coming for a pass at 3:30, but I've not been very successful with Amateur Oscar 7, Bobby. Where it's at 3:30, it's coming for a pass. Maybe we could 40-degree elevation pass, and it's in the 10-meter band, which is interesting. The downlink is 29,400, 29,500, which is kind of interesting. The 10-meter band, I don't know. So we'll check that out. But I think the best bet right now would be the same one that I just heard, CAS 4B at 4 p.m. almost 4 p.m. Pass is starting at at 2052 UTC and goes all the way to 2105. So we're going to try that one. I think that will be a nice one. I'm using, for those that wonder, Heavens Above on my tablet. So this is what I get, and I get the list on the side, and you see the satellite pass, and you can go through. So if I go here, so this is all the list of radio satellites coming through. So that's where I saw that CAS4A was giving a pass a few minutes ago. And of course, these are all other satellites: AO85, UQ1, AO7. So you have a pass. I try to get the ones with the where the higher elevation. So this one will be nice. CAS4B at 58 has an elevation of 49 degrees, which is very good. We just had it pass 35 degrees, and I was hearing it well. So we'll try it again. The downlink for that satellite is, and the guy can read here, CAS4B. Oh, that was CAS4A that we just heard. This one is 4B. So 4B, and the downlink is 145925. And the way it works, the downlink at 145925 is plus 20 kilohertz. So anywhere from 145925 to 145945, in that 20 kilohertz range, you'll hear upper sideband mode amateur operators. Their uplink is on 435.280. So anyways, we'll be checking that out, and we'll be checking that satellite when it comes through. Maybe I could put an alarm. Lead time. Okay. Radio satellites. CAS4B. Here we go. I technically should have alarm set for 5 minutes before, which will let us know when it's through. What do you have fast load for a VHF antenna right now? I remember you had that discount that doesn't work, which is the crappiest thing I've ever seen. What are you using right now, fast load, as a VHF UHF antenna? Out of curiosity. What are those broadband blobs that appear from time to time? Yeah, they're not broadband. Well, they are broadband, but they, you know what? I suspect that what happens is that, and I've noticed with the SDR Uno, SDR Play RSP1 on the VHF UHF range, it tends to overload from time to time. So I suspect that what the big blobs were is possible kind of intermod type, you know, interference, because it overloads it could be due to a local AM repeater, it could be due to broadcasts. So Bullfrog, whether to image, you may want to start watching at lower frequency, manually tune up as it comes in closer and moves away due to Doppler effect. I know that's what I have to do. You know, what antenna are you using, Bullfrog? Just out of curiosity, because I had a pretty clear signal, but it was still noisy. What I did is I recorded the audio, and I went through whether to image, and I then took that audio, injected it, and it decoded a very, there's something visible, but it doesn't seem to sync right or to be okay. So I might be missing something that I didn't understand when decoding NOAA 19 weather pictures. So that's what I'm wondering here. Shotfire says, if you have a Uniden digital scanner, use the Sentinel software for the frequencies. So that could be nice to check out. Yeah, check out. He's got live streams too. Yeah, Cosmic Lettuce. Anybody that's interested in looking up in the skies, Cosmic Lettuce has a nice live stream every day at 0200. I haven't watched it in a while. I need to check it out. It's been a long time since I've been there, Cosmic Lettuce. Bobby Burgess says he's got his new telewhip antenna outside from my room for VHF UHF. Cool. iMapper, nice to have you here from Moscow. Bullfrog says I use the RTL V3 VB audio cable and SDR Sharp. Huh. Because I haven't been able to it decodes some kind of a garbled image. It's as if it's trying to do something and decode it, but maybe it might, you know, how clear does the audio have to be, and what's the how wide do you set the bandwidth for the reception, Bullfrog, just out of curiosity. So while we are talking about VHF UHF stuff, one of the things that a lot of people have been asking is the range of frequencies where you will receive train communications, so railway or railroad stuff. And I would say that the most of the railroad communications will tend to come from approximately 100 and let me just go here like this. Let me just set this right, because right now the low frequency is way too far. And let me just go to 160500. Okay, that's good. 160. So around 159 700 to 161 400 in there's railroad communications. It's one of the main frequency ranges, at least in North America. I don't know if Europe might have a different frequency range for railroads, but in North America it's part of that's one of the main frequency ranges where you get railroad communications of all sorts. So you will have some stuff appearing, and you will probably see here. So here I've got some overload, definite overload from different signals. So we'll see, and we'll try to see. I know that one of the popular ones here in Montreal are 168.75. I'll leave it there. We're surely going to hear something at some point. So, you know, one of the questions also that came to mind that a lot of people ask is, how far away can you hear railroad communications? Because we don't all live next to a railway, you know, a yard where there's, you know, a lot of trains. Here in Montreal, I'm kind of lucky. I always say it because I'm kind of lucky. Montreal is nice for that because there's a lot of everything around. We've got communications from the Port of Montreal, from, you know, the St. Lawrence Seaway for boats. We've got communications because there's a lot of railway stuff. Less than in the past, of course, because, I mean, like everywhere, railway is used, but I would say railway and trains are not as popular as they once were in a long time ago, but there's still a lot of railway stuff and railroads around Montreal, and there's a lot of rail yards here in Montreal. There's like 4 or 5 scattered across the Montreal territory, the island of Montreal. So train communication there's kind of a lot of it going on the VHF range for me. And there's 2 things that you'll hear on train communications. You'll hear the central, so that probably is the strongest. If you hear like the central signal, that is like a repeater a little bit. It's strong, it goes far. But you also hear specific trains. These are a little harder and more difficult because as the train moves, it's a little bit like having direct communications from amateur radios that would use simplex from a car. You know, signal goes up and down and depending on the distance, and they're not as powerful as the main railway frequencies, for example. So they're not as easy to listen to. And sometimes you'll hear the simplex trains communications. Sometimes you'll hear communications through one of these major railway outlets, depending on where you live. So if you live out in the open and out, you're out in far from most rail yards, but not that far from. Most of us don't live that far from some form of railroad. Of course, if you don't live near a rail yard, but you do have a railroad passing by, you might hear some trains from time to time. It'll be more difficult, of course, because you won't necessarily hear anything except maybe the individual trains. That's kind of harder to get, and you might need better antennas and better equipment. An outdoor antenna might really be of a lot of help in some of these cases. But there's definitely quite a lot of activity. Like every type of communications also, you'll typically have often more activity during the weekdays because there's more happening. There's railroad communications typically 24 hours a day. But in the weekdays, there's going to be a lot more because there's a lot more happening. There's going to be repair crews that might be going through the railroad to check out if everything's all right or fix something that's broken, fix signaling. Sometimes it's, so in the weekdays, there's often a lot more, because one of the things I've noticed in the weekdays very often is hearing crews that are working on something. So they'll need to do communications because they'll need to know, okay, when is the next train passing by, because they don't want to get hit by a train while they're fixing something. So they will often say, okay, well, the next train is scheduled for 5 p.m. So you can safely work on that until say 4:30, but after 4:30 just move out because there's going to be a train coming, and there's a lot of stuff happening. So typically, often in the typical, there's something here. I'm going to check it out here. Look at that. So these are probably some. These are some railway communications. 16365. So if fast load, you want to try it. 160365. There were some communications here a few seconds ago. 160475, 160875 are some of the major ones here in Montreal that I hear all the time. So depending on what you want, there's a lot of stuff. You gotta be quick. So here's some different stuff happening. So anyways, lots of stuff to listen to if you take the time. One of the questions that I got from a guy this week that stumbled upon my channel, he got a scanner, an old Burkett scanner off of a, I think it was a flea market for like $10. And he came to my channel and said, you know what, I bought this scanner, and it's a basic model, that goes up to UHF 512 megahertz. And he said to me in a comment, I don't hear anything. And I'm wondering if there's still something to listen to. And the thing is, you got to remember that listening to these frequencies, these are two-way communications that are intermittent. They're not there all the time. Meaning, like now, it looks quiet. And you might say, well, I don't think there's anything to listen to. And the thing is, it's actually maybe not the case. Maybe there's a lot of stuff to listen to. It's just that what's happening is that the communications that you get are intermittent. You could be a while without seeing anything or hearing anything. And you might be scanning through and thinking there's nothing to listen to. The problem is there's a lot more to listen to on these frequencies than anyone might think. It's just that it's easy to miss on an intermittent communication. So one of the things I was saying, and that's what I told him, I said, put a range of frequencies that you will scan through and let it scan through that range. So just leave it there. And you'll see that at some point you'll hear stuff, and you'll be able to add some frequencies that you're wondering what they are, or maybe you'll know what they are, but you will definitely hear something. There's a lot of communications out there. I saw a article about how a lot of this VHF UHF frequencies. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that went digital, but in that survey where that article, they kind of surveyed whatever was to listen around an area, and they were saying there's more analog stuff than digital stuff. The only problem is most people will scan through a frequency range in 1 or 2 times. They'll hear nothing and they'll just say, hey, I'm going to shut down the radio. There's nothing to listen to. I guess there's nothing to listen today on these frequencies. And it comes to one simple fact that I've seen so many people often say, and I've got a few friends of mine that have scanner radios that just told me that, oh, well, I was listening to the police. Now the police is encrypted. I can't listen anymore. So I guess, I've got this $300 radio that's wasted now doing nothing. And that is the problem. The problem, people are getting stuck at listening to a specific aspect. I'm the curious guy, so of course, you put a scanner radio in my hands, one of the first things that I will do is start scanning around all the frequencies. I will not stand on a frequency and just wait. That's not what I do. Yeah, I had my times when sometimes listening to the police, could be interesting. Sometimes it's entertaining, sometimes not. Most of the police communications, anyway, personally, I find boring. And it's not my thing. I've never really been the guy that listened to the police for like a full evening. I would listen to the police 15, 20 minutes at a time and then get bored. Unless something is happening. Last time that the Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup, I can tell you one thing. I listened to the police all evening. That was a major, interesting event. There are so many things happening. When there's weather events, a big snowstorm, I will tend to take out my scanner radios or tune around the frequency ranges in a snowstorm, because there's more than just public works or communications from the police. There's all sorts of communications. You might stumble upon a frequency that it's UPS that has trucks, and they're communicating how bad the weather is, or how everything is difficult, or how they're jammed somewhere. You'll have these frequencies usually in a snowstorm. What I'll do is start scanning the VHF and UHF ranges, and I will scan it with one radio, and what I find, I'll program it in memories in another one that I have. And that one is, okay, it just scans the ones that I find on that first one. So if you have more than one scanner, it's cool for that. You can program one that just scans all the ones that you heard, and you leave the other one scanning around, searching for stuff all the time. And you end up, last time that I did that, I ended up the evening with like 20, 25 channels of analog communications, of, truckers, of companies of all sorts, security agencies, even amateur radio operators. Here we have in Canwarn in Canada, which is always activated when there's bad weather, and so there's a lot of activity with Canwarn that goes through the different amateur bands. So that is something, and the problem is, I guess it's been like that all the time. I remember when I started listening to scanner radio, everybody that I met that had one was in general stuck at listening to one thing. Oh, I just want to listen to the cops. Okay, but there's so much more out there. I'm the guy that rather has so much more than just the cops. So it is sad when you lose something like that, for sure. When the Montreal police went all digital and encrypted, okay, yeah, that's sad. It's sad to have that. And, I'm not one of those that, because, of course, when we talk about police communications, a lot of people say, well, the police should be encrypted because there's so much happening there. And And the bad guys use scanners to know if they're being tracked or not. And yeah, of course, I'm sure it happens. But I tend to think that having clear communications is much better, because there also have been the other side of things. I have seen many cases of some people being arrested because somebody somewhere was listening to the the police frequencies and noticed the bad guy was on his street, or he knew details and called in, and it did happen. So there's, I don't know, there's the good side, the bad side. I understand the need for some form of encrypted. Honestly, I think the cities are spending and wasting our money by doing that for a very simple reason. One example I gave here, because when they went encrypted, somebody said, well, they have to. And I said, they don't have to. Every cop has a cell phone. So if there is something very sensitive to talk about, why not use the cell phone? You've got that, and that we won't hear anything. And for a long time, that's what would happen. You would have the cops doing something, and then you would have sensitive information to give out, and they'd do it over their computers because they had the computers connected, or they'd do it over a cell phone. And they'd keep the frequencies more for the general communications. So, one aspect of that is the provincial police here in Quebec. The provincial police here in Quebec, most of what I hear is analog. Most of what I hear is totally analog. And what happens is that when they have sensitive info, so for example, say they don't arrest, they stop a guy on the road, they'll give out the license plate. And of course, for a long time, when everything was analog, I did find that was a little sensitive, because they would give over the air analog communications of, well, that's this guy, he lives at this address, and he's got a valid permit, or he's been arrested before for drugs or whatever. And I thought, well, okay, that's a lot of sensitive information that you actually are giving out over the air that somebody else can listen to. Date of birth, stuff like that. Today what I noticed is that most of it is still analog, but when they give out details, so say they want to search a license plate, well, when they give out the details, they'll start the encryption end to end, and then you hear like a white noise. And once that is done, they get back to analog for the regular communications, which is, I think, good. It's a great thing, Okay, what else do we have? Let's go down here. Mike Anna 261, nice to have you here. Man, I'm glad I found this channel. I was over on the usual channel looking for a live stream. I did not know about this one, but I was searching high and low. So nice to have you here. Yes, the VHF UHF is on this side. Mad Radio DXer, nice to have you on board. And a lot of people are actually don't know that you come here, So put my SDR in the airband, Jerry. Okay, let's check it out. Let's put 1199 and put in AM mode. Let's check out what. You know what? I've never did something. I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna check something here. Where is? I'm trying to see if I can. If I can get the. I'm trying to remember what's the frequencies of the ATS, the weather information stuff in. I don't remember. Well, here's a plane. So that was communications. Here's, whoa, this is really overloading. So I have to be careful how I adjust the RF gain because there's a lot of overloading that happens, as you see here, from time to time. I'm on 134.4 right now. So anyways, lots of stuff to listen to. You just gotta, you know, scan around. Bullfrog, White FM set the bandwidth to about 34-35 kilohertz. Okay. Maybe I put, I'm trying to remember how much bandwidth I took the last time. I'll have to check that out. I need to successfully do one. I wanna decode a weather chart from NOAA. Maybe I don't have, you know, maybe the. So these. This is airband communications with the airport. 134.4 right now. So what else? Cosmic Lettuce says my day job is located very near a rail yard. Can always hear the radio signals and calm. I also like the sound of trains as I zip by. Especially enjoy the low frequency audio. I haven't done that in a long time, but about, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe. I would go down in some nice summer days. I would go down the to a rail yard that's not there very far from where I live. And I would oh yeah, Bullfrog, and hey, by the way, Bullfrog, you've been let's put you moderator here. Why not? Hey, Bullfrog, moderator. Why not? Cosmic Lettuce is worthy of being moderator here too. So Cosmic Lettuce is now moderator. You guys are now moderator here. So go ahead, absolutely. So anyways, I would go down and I would bring my my little portable scanner radio and listen to trains all afternoon. I had a very nice spot where I could see all the different trains in the rail yard, like, you know, all working to put the different just kind of work things so that everything is ready and trains can come and pick up stuff and go. And it was a lot of fun to walk the rail yard and the work there and listening to all of that. And in the rail yard itself, there's a lot of communications that's very, very local, meaning that if you live several kilometers away, you might not hear a lot of the stuff that's happening there with the radio, because they're just using little talkies, and it's, you know, they're just talking in the rail yard themselves. And once you're, you know, several kilometers away, you don't hear that stuff happening, but you hear it when you're close. You hear it when you're there. One guy says it's fun to ride the Long Island Railroad and listen to the communications to and from the trains you're riding with earbuds. Yeah, that is very cool. Absolutely. Absolutely. Bullfrog 89 says, I spent 10 years in fire and emergency services. If I'm struggling to fall asleep, I turn my scanner on to a low volume. I always had it going in the bedroom at the station. Bob Guy says the signal stalker or near field feature is fun to leave on. You usually hear something that is nearby. Then you can look up what frequency is assigned to, or if assigned. Oh, nice. It's kind of cool. Kind of cool. Bobby says the police stations and sheriff. Let me just go back here. I lost my. So okay, police station, sheriff's office in my parish or county, maybe in P25.1, but it's not encrypted. That's at least nice. You know, when it's P25, you can, if it's not encrypted, you can listen to that. But here it's encrypted, impossible to decode. Band reader DXer says here in the UK, police are encrypted in Tetra. So pretty crazy. Cosmic Lettuce, are police, fire, a railroad, and other radio communications like that recorded? Well, I know that for a lot of what's happening on the airwaves, like police and fire, they have all that is recorded and kept, so they can go back and listen to what happened and how it was handled with the police communications if they need to check it out. Is everything like railroad? I'm not sure railroad is necessarily. Also, one thing you got to be careful. For example, here I've got this running, and I know that one of the things that I can't do, which is I have low volume of the air band right now, but a lot of what is there, I am not technically allowed to have it play for you guys, and you guys listen to it. I would guess I'm infringing on some rule if I do so here. So, you know. One guy says, I like to scan itinerant frequencies. You never know what you'll hear. Once heard guys doing a burglary and communicating point to point. I would hear someone outside the building say, okay, the train is going by. Use a sledgehammer. Wow. Bobby's soon to get CAS4B at his QTH. So it's going to be interesting to see. Let us know how it goes and how it works. For sure. Jerry says, I bought a SDR Play RSP2 Pro a few months ago and it's sat on the shelf, forgot about it. Played with it this morning and my eyes are bloodshot. Can't walk away from it. Oh man, the RSP2 Pro is amazing. Radio comms, nice one, Jill. Hairband, my prayer listening for VHF, UHF, and HF. Yeah, lots of stuff here. I live close to an airport, so there's a lot. Actually, I live close to 2 airports. There's a lot of stuff to listen to, actually. So, yep. Congratulations for the for being moderators, guys. So we're almost here. I'll be checking out CAS4B right now. So, CAS4B satellite, and it's amateur radio satellite in the VHF range. Let me just go back here and go back here. Okay. CAS4B is going to reach 49 degrees elevation at 58.50. So 20 hours, 58.50. It's downlink 145925. And it's barely getting over the horizon here on the west-southwest. And so 20 kilohertz above 145925. There will be some stuff there. So let's position ourselves on 145925. And upper sideband, and let's we'll see what we can get as the satellite moves on. This is what is nice with SDR, because on the ICOM you gotta tune. You know, you just tune up and down 20 kilohertz. What's cool with the SDR is that at least you see the signals appear on the waterfall, so you know where to click and where to tune in. I would say the only aspect of the SDR that I find a little less interesting when listening to satellites is because of the Doppler. You gotta move the frequency all the time. I find it easier with the knob on the ICOM to stay in that range to listen to it and readjust all the time than it is on the SDR itself. So it's still very low, 8 degrees elevation only. We're going to check out what we can hear on that satellite. So CAS4B. So this is what it looks like on my little display here. And so we'll start listening in to the frequencies. Oh, you just heard a little sweep. I'm sure that's an amateur radio operator. So Jerry's got it at 63, got it at 49. Oh, you're hearing the beacon, and here's the there's a CQ satellite. I hate that. Trying to see what else we hear. Still very weak comms here. I'm hearing some stuff. It's going to get better probably as the satellite moves up. I'm going to try to get that. You can see the beacon here. A lot of stuff right now. Keep it there. Hearing the beacon. Shunfai says, you guys on that side of the pond have more to listen to on scanners than in the UK. I have spent over 550 US on a Uniden UBCD 3600 XLT. Nothing much going on apart from aircraft and marine. Do you use your RSPVR remote or direct USB port? It's direct on the USB port, GH. Nice to have you here. So that's the beacon coming in well. Somebody calling CQ in Morse code. K8. Turn on that blob, go away. K8SA. And I'm getting better in my Morse code here. That is the beacon. Trying to see what else we can hear. WA2NDA. Sometimes it's better. And that's the forecast for a satellite passing overhead. And it's now going downwards, so we're soon to 29 degrees elevation. You heard a little bit of stuff there. Sometimes there's more communications than that. It's kind of interesting. There's no satellite on 137. Let's check that out. So 137, 100. Let's put in an FM, wide FM. Let's take the filter, squeeze it to. Okay, so you say. I'm using, so here's, that would be like 35 kilohertz. Let me just, we could hear and we could see the imprint here. Let me just, 60. Oh, this is way too wide. Trying to see. Well, that's 20. I'm trying to see how is there a way to put a custom, that's a question, is there a way to put a custom wide, so I mean on 60 kilohertz is way too wide when I'm in wide FM. When I'm in, oh, here goes, 30. So this, so let's just bring audacity. And let's record it. I'm going to record it on the audio. I got a pretty decent signal here. So should with that type of signal, should I be able to decode the weather map? If I take the audio after and process it, Bullfrog 89, would that work? You just got to stay as centered as possible. Okay. So I will try. It's a pretty strong signal. I mean, it's very, very clean. Okay, I should be able to decode this because it sounds good. How long do you need to record to have a full image? Hey, Douglas Perry, nice to have you on board. JH, I use it's a wideband mobile vertical antenna that is on a metal shed in the backyard. So here I'm really centered. Yeah. The SAS Lift, nice to have you here. Candy Clover, nice to have you on board. David Arden, KJ4CMY, nice to have you here. So here there's record from acquisition to loss of signal. Okay. If somebody claims monetization for that weather facts, I'm gonna go nuts. So here I'm losing the signal a little bit. Staying as centered as possible. Unfortunately, the mobile vertical isn't perfect. So these NOAA satellites, like NOAA 19 Cosmic Letters, are low Earth orbit satellites. So they typically will have a 15-20 minute time that they are over the horizon here. So now I'm getting a lot of noise, so I guess I don't know what it's going to do. You guys, if I get any image that looks like something, I'm going to be so happy right now. Too bad at that little moment of noise, because it sounded really good for a while. I'm losing it pretty much now. Will it do like a weather fax if I have noise in the middle of it? Will there be like noise at different intervals? Cosmic Letters, you like that? I want to have an image that looks like something. So these, the NOAA 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 are low Earth orbit satellites. So they take about 90 minutes to go through, I believe the NOAA satellites are like 100 minutes to do a full. Okay. I'm having fun. Let's hope it's going to work. Last time I got, but I wasn't set correctly for the bandwidth. I was set maybe a little too wide. So I don't know. We'll see. If it doesn't work, what would you think would be the problem? Too much noise in my image, or in my reception, or something not right? Well, that's very noisy. And the satellite is almost at the horizon and the north part of so I guess we're going to stop it here pretty much. Let it go through. Okay, so if I got no image at all, problem with the recording. If I get static but I get an image that looks like a weather picture, okay, so you do it live. How do I do it live? With you use weather to image? There's a live part. You can use on the iPad or the Android. This one is an Android tablet. I use a software called Evans Above. Evans Above. And it tells me you've got a section in Evans Above of radio satellites. So you can click radio satellites and it gives you the list of all the radio satellites at your location. The SAS lift says NOAA 15 next. I don't have NOAA. Oh yeah, NOAA 15 at it's very low pass here. NOAA 15 is very low pass here. So let's, satellite's almost down now. So I've got, so let's stop it here, because now it's pretty much gone. Okay, let's test this. Okay, I will use this. I will, okay, export into a WAV file. NOAA 19, January 26th, 2019. In Audacity, so that should work. I believe Audacity is within the My Documents folder. Okay, so let's record this and say that this is okay. So, okay, let's move out of this. Nope. Let's just stop SDR Uno for a second here. Weather to image. Yeah, I know that the couplers are no good, no problem. File, open audio file. Documents, Audacity, 119, open. Signal processing. Building image. So I got this. Which is exactly what I got the last time. It looks like this with this weird black bar there. So, something wrong with the recording. This is weird. Yeah, you can go absolutely Cosmic Lettuce. You can go to evansabove.com also. It's an excellent site. Go to enhancements. Okay, I'll go to enhancements. Okay, what else? You're seeing the raw image. Okay, what do I need to click to I think the software Weather to Image already knows the size of the pixel Cosmic Lettuce. So what should I choose in enhancements, Bullfrog? Just out of curiosity. Because there's a lot of stuff here. Contrast, enhance, see surface, NOAA, H. What am I watching exactly right now? I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. No color IR enhancement. Right now it's selected as normal. Okay, cool, Bullfrog. Let me know. We'll try to do something. If you'll helping me out here. I really wanted to code one of those pictures. By the pattern, there seems to be something in there, but it's just not right. Here it says, and just out of curiosity, because at the bottom of Weather to Image, it says warning, narrow IF bandwidth, set recording options or receiver type low, signal to noise, or volume too high. You know what? I just am wondering if when I recorded the audio, if I shouldn't have recorded the audio with a wider kilobits. I think it's my fault. You know what? I have the impression that I've recorded the audio with maybe too narrow of a setting. Now that I remember what I've just seen, now I wish I would have kept the project. Darn it. I think the problem is my problem. I think I recorded, because it recorded, but it did. I used 16 kilobit PCM, but I was listening and recording at 34 kilobit bandwidth. So I think I might have actually, the recording is the problem, not the reception. Maybe that's the thing, because it does say here, warning, narrow IF bandwidth, set recording options, receiver type, low signal to noise or volume to high. How do you decode live when you want to decode live? I'm trying to see what's the option to decode live. Because here it says raw images, audio. That's no need to. What's that? Audio file. Oh, that has nothing to do with me. So open raw image, open audio file. I think I messed up when I did the recording and saved the recording. I think I messed up there. My recording volume might be too high also. Okay. I have to do tests this week. I want to definitely be successful in recording one this week. But here it says narrow IF bandwidth. And I think, okay. So update coupler under file. Update couplers. New couplers installed from Sillustrack. Okay. Okay. Next satellite is NOAA 17 137-500 at 043 UTC. Okay, a long time from now. Okay, and when this happens, so okay, satellite pass list. Okay, here it tells me what's coming next. No set. So I don't have any good passes probably for a while of NOAA satellites, because it tells me that I've got the next passes local time are almost midnight tonight. Okay, and if, okay, so when the satellite, well, you know what, that's the problem, Matambali. I think that the, I think the recording is a problem. So when okay, so the couplers are updated. Will it start automatically? How do I start it to actually use the audio and have it decode live? Then you have to keep the program open, make sure it's set to auto decode, and make sure you have the correct audio input selected. Okay, so it needs to be at auto detect APT. Okay, options. What are these options here? Oops, not going to touch that. So auto decode, decode, auto process. So I guess I'm going to have to find this. Auto process. Okay. Auto process. I'll find that out. I'll have a clear picture this week. I think I just realized something. I think I've just realized that what I recorded was too narrow in the sampling rate of the audio file. So it probably clipped some of the frequencies, and it can't decode anymore. So auto process, let's just, why are they still old? Oh, maybe I need to give permission for this thing to actually work well. Okay, let's just check it out here. So auto process, and in the in the audio options, I need to set probably the correct audio options for. I'm not going to use too much time now because there's no real big satellite coming for that, but I definitely will check it out later on. There's passes tonight around midnight. I'm going to check out the good passes later on and try to decode a picture. I need to be successful with this for sure. I want to make sure I'm going to be successful with this thing. So thanks for your help, by the way. And I think my biggest error here was I recorded the sampling rate too low, and it clipped out the frequencies that were necessary for the picture. So okay, cool. Thanks for your help, guys. It's something I'm trying to learn, and it's kind of fun to have people that can help you out when you do things. You're watching the VHF UHF show, guys, of course, and we're live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. What else is there here? Just quick check of any satellite. The next real nice satellite would be at in half an hour, XW2D as a 65-degree pass. That could be a nice one for amateur listening. And well, but two satellites together. There's going to be kind of an overlap because they're going to be CAS4A and XW2D, both having a great pass overhead, and their frequencies overlap. XW2D is 145.860 to 145.880, where CAS4A is 145.870. They will overlap some of the frequencies. So it's kind of difficult. It's going to be difficult to know if you're listening to XW2D or CAS4A. They're going to overlap. So in about half an hour's time, I'm going to try to check that out. Yeah, absolutely, Bullfrog. I totally understand that. As a tech guy, I can tell you one thing. It's really difficult to help people from, when they're far away. But you know what? I think I to understand what happened here. I'm pretty sure I recorded the audio file with a sampling rate that was too low, and it clipped off all the frequencies needed, because I didn't realize at the time, but I was 30 kilohertz wide. The audio sounded great, but when I recorded, it told me, oh, you want a WAV file 16 kilobit. And I was like, no, well, yeah, okay, 16 kilobit. I don't know. Maybe it's too low of a sampling rate to record. I think I need to do it better. Quick little announcement for those of you that enjoy what I do. Please think about it. If you enjoy my different shows, a little donation, paypal.me / let me just put it here, paypal.me. Yeah, that's, I think it's the problem was there. I kind of didn't realize at the moment I recorded. I will need to make it better. I think that's the main problem. If I would not have done that, we would have had a picture probably. I need to record it wider. So paypal.me/shortwave or the Yahoo email that you see here. If you enjoy what I do, a little donation helps out. And of course, PayPal. There's Patreon. Why not join 12 patrons that are right now giving a little something every month. It's much appreciated, and of course, it helps out tremendously. Buying equipment, keeping everything up to date, paying the huge internet bill, and hope you guys enjoy the show. Thanks for all those that supported, of course, and it's always nice to have people out there that support. And of course, I always try to reach out to people that never donated before, and that are all the time here. And of course, like Man Radio DXer, you can support DX the Cat. You can say, hey, I'm giving you this for DX the Cat food and treats. So, thanks everybody. Okay, where's the cat? He's sleeping in the bedroom. I was looking at, he was sleeping when I got here. I went to the grocery store, and I thought he would be sleeping in this chair, but he wasn't. So, anyways. He's sleeping. We'll leave him quiet. Okay. One question also I've got to answer about the VHF UHF range. Many are asking, question about the different amateur bands and what are the modes in these amateur bands. So typically you will have in the VHF range 6 meters, which is 50 to 54 megahertz. 6 meters is a very unique band in a VHF range because it shares characteristics of two types of characteristics. The standard VHF line of sight propagation. So most of the time, when you listen, you tune in to 50 megahertz, what you'll have is line of sight. But when sporadic E-skip happens, when the different solar activity comes really high, 50 megahertz will also share part of the propagation characteristics of shortwave. So basically what happens is that when you have sporadic E-skip happening, the 6 meter band will propagate thousands of kilometers. And like I was saying, last year I received, for me it's a record, I got an JT65 digital signal from Brazil on 5276, I believe, something like that, in JT65 mode, which is totally nuts. Thinking of that, on 50 megahertz, I received Brazil several thousand kilometers away, is amazing in itself. So it's worth checking it out regularly. 50 megahertz is one of those bands that you never know what could be there. It's one of those bands that if propagation is right, you might be very, very surprised. If you remove the fact that from the bottom part of 50 megahertz, you will technically have sideband. There's CW, there's upper sideband signals, and upper sideband stations. The majority of the upper part of the 6 meter band, 50 megahertz, is going to be with FM signals, and you'll have even some locations have FM repeaters on 50 megahertz. Just like standard VHF 2 meter band. So it's worth it to check out the propagation because you never know. My trick for 6 meters is always the same. So here I'll use this Yaesu here. If we go on 27 megahertz, what I will often do is go on to 27 27025, which is, you know, this famous Super Bowl frequency. If there's nothing here, well, one thing is simple. There's probably no E-skip, sporadic E-skip or anything, so I don't expect to hear anything in the 50 to 54 megahertz range. Except maybe local signals. If, you know, I did hear some local hams in upper sideband the other day. But if you hear a lot of activity on channel 6, 27025, one of the things you need to go is to check 6 meters. Because I would say 9 out of 10 times sporadic E-skip is giving skip on the CB band or 11 meters. You probably will have something on 6 meters. Not always. Last week we had 2 nights. One of the guys that is here often, Vienna, from the east part, sent me a private message and said, hey, 11 meters open and 10 meters. And I went to listen to, and 2 nights in a row, 27, 28 megahertz, around 10 p.m., late in the evening. I mean, full of signals. There were some ham radio operators on the 10 meter band. It was crazy. But on these 2 nights, I went to the 6 meter band and tried for FT8 or JT65. There was a local ham, a VE2, from here. It was north. The station was in Laval, just across the river here. That was calling CQ, but there was nothing else. Nothing else. I only heard that guy. So I guess that guy saw that, you know, 10 meters was open, so he tried 6 meters, but 6 meters was not propagating, and that is what pretty much happened. 6 meters was just not there. So, you know, it's one of those things that happens. But I would say that at least 80% of the time, when 10 meters or the CB band is full of skip, go check 6 meters. You will be surprised at what you have there, for sure. And 6 meters is truly a magic band, I can tell you that. So, oh, you're right, Bullfrog. I haven't set the location of my weather to image. Come on, a little guy wants to see you. Come on. That would have been nice, Candy Clover. That will be one of the things for sure with the ham license. One of the things I want to do is satellite. Hey, look at that, guys. We got a little friend here that's saying hi to everybody. Look at that. Look here. Look at the camera. You seen it? Huh? Yeah. He's all sleepy, and of course now there's like tons of lighting in his little eyes. Poor little kitten. So here's Paul the cat saying hi to everybody. My very big cat. So anyways, you know, 6 meters is an amazing band. It's one of, you know, I am one of the guys that likes the unusual stuff, like, you know, 10 meter band, 6 meters. It's kind of cool. And so lots of stuff. Just remember, like most amateur bands, most of them follow a pattern. The lower part of each band is CW or upper sideband or single sideband, and then you get to the point where it's, you know, when you are above 30 megahertz, you have to a point where there's FM signals and so on. So cheers, everybody. So, but you know, it's a lot of fun to check it out. 2 meters is the next one you'll find. 2 meters is 144 to 148. Not everywhere. I believe in Europe it's a little smaller. Same thing. 144, 145. Usually you get a lot of. You'll get CW. You'll get single sideband, stuff like that. Above 145, you're going to start having FM signals. Somebody asked me the other day, is there a specific region of the 2 meter band for satellites? Yeah, pretty much all satellites are in the range between 145 500 to 146. So that 500 kilohertz part there, 145 500 to 146000. That's pretty much where all satellites are for amateur radio signals. And of course, there's repeaters that you can use. Somebody asked, I think it was Bobby Burgess was asking, and I forgot to answer back. How far can you go with a 5-watt signal using a repeater? Well, if you are tripping a repeater with your talkie, your 5-watt talkie, you can typically go, easily 50, 60, 70 miles. The trick is to trip the repeater. But if the repeater, for example, here we have a repeater on one of the popular one on Mont Rougemont. Mont Rougemont is, I don't know, roughly about, in direct line, maybe 40 kilometers from here, roughly. So if with a 5-watt talkie here in Montreal, you trip Rougemont, which is easy to do because it's one of the really, really good repeaters, you will have already done 40 kilometers line of sight. And think about somebody that could be 40 kilometers but on the other side, further away. That means you could have typically an 80-kilometer communication using just a 5-watt talkie because you're having the help of a repeater that's boosting that signal so that it gets a wider range. So you typically can do very, very, very long. And in good conditions, a little 5-watt talkie with a good antenna, clear line of sight, you'll be surprised at how far it can actually go. It's very, very surprising. I can tell you that. I'm just going to move back because the cat wants to sleep, and he pushed my laptop. I don't want a laptop accident. So, anyways, it's one of those fun things that you can try, and 6 meters, 2 meters is just amazing, just amazing. So I do need, I will check out. I'll take time tonight. I will take more time to check whether to image Bullfrog 89. We'll be checking that out for sure. So here, Candy Clover says 40 miles off with just a duck. So, and Bobby just asked, do you think a 5-watt HD will hit a repeater 14 miles away? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can easily do. Here, there are so many. There's a net. There's a net on that repeater in the evening. So many people from Montreal that, so, it's maybe 25 miles, 30 miles away. So many people from Montreal hit it with just a 5-watt talkie, and have a pretty good signal, a very clear signal into the repeater. So yes, absolutely, easily, as long as it's clear. So yeah, I saw a. Let me just check it out here again. I'll check it out here. You're gonna fall, man. Because here, if I look at the next NOAA pass, there's a one NOAA 15 in 10 minutes, but it's just 20 degrees high. I'm not gonna have a good signal off of that. And NOAA 19 doesn't show up for next pass here, so that means over my area, NOAA 19 will be below 20 degrees. I've set a limit on my on the software here. I've set a limit of, even lower, I've set a limit of 10 degrees in my software. And so it doesn't show. I guess it's not going to have a good pass, really, fortunately. So in 10 minutes, we'll try the 2 satellites that are going to be over here. Yes, Mr. Cat. Here we go, Mr. Cat. That's what you want. Yeah. That's what you want. Look at that little guy. Look at that little guy. Oh, man. Mad Boy, nice to have you here. Ravelda65, nice to have you on board, my friend. Always nice to have everybody here. And your laptop is a cat. Cat top. Oh, man. So it's nice to have everybody here. So we'll be checking out, because I need to really to check it out. Is amateur TV, Tucker Geek 2, nice to have you here. Is amateur TV still active? Technically, in the 420 megahertz range, technically it should. But it's a good question, because I haven't seen amateur TV activity in a very long time. There used to be a amateur TV station here in Montreal that was often sending some TV signal from the Olympic Stadium mast. There was a repeater there, and that was a long time ago. And I haven't seen any amateur TV stuff in the 420 megahertz range in a long time. So if there is something like that happening, it's really happening. There's not a lot of it. There's not a lot of activity. I can tell you that. Anybody have seen amateur TV in the 420 megahertz range? I haven't seen that in such a long time. Matambale scanning railroad frequencies, hearing fragments of conversations now and then, which is pretty much what you'll get. But depending on and like I said, in the weekdays, often there's a lot more happening. So that's something that you can check out. And I'm just gonna do something, guys. I just want to make sure I get my phone that I think I still left in my jacket when I got home from the groceries. And here we go. Here's my Mr. Phone. So okay, here we go. I like to have a. Sometimes some people have a. I'm just gonna check it out here. So yeah, okay. I wanted to see if some people were asking why or isn't there a show today or something, because maybe they would be on the wrong channel. And Mike Hanna has, but yeah, that's the thing, Bullfrog. I always check the elevation. Anything below, like a NOAA satellite, anything below 30 degrees, I don't think is going to be a very good pass for me. One of the things that, Jerry, is airband audio illegal to publicize on YouTube? The legality of what you are going to post on YouTube goes with the regulations you have in your area. So, for example, technically in Canada, the regulation is that you are not to publicize or to talk about something you're hearing on public frequencies. So, for example, if you listen to the airband, technically the regulations in Canada here is that you shouldn't tell anyone what you heard. So technically, I would put it to the regulation of, well, it's possible that it's not technically legal to have put on YouTube a video of airband communications. But somebody needs to complain for this to be a problem, and that's all where it is. So I don't know. I tend to not want to put too much stuff on the VHF channel regarding any transmissions I listen to, mostly because of that. I don't really know how legal it is exactly. To give you an idea, also, Sheldon. I do the utility column for now for the messenger, and as Sheldon was saying, when I started, he said you can talk about things you can hear, but you got to be careful because you can't talk about what you heard. Meaning that if there would be a emergency situation communications, and I wanted to to say I heard, you know, this guy doing this and calling that, and they called the cops and this happened, I'm probably infringing on some regulation here. I'm probably infringing on Canadian laws for what I can actually, you know, talk about. I can say I heard railroad communications. I probably can't say what I heard them saying. I probably can't tell you guys, technically with the Canadian laws, I probably can't tell you guys what they were saying. But I can tell you there were some railroad communications on that frequency range. So it's a very delicate thing here. And I got to say, with YouTube already being very, very delicate on all sorts of things, you got to be careful what you do. For sure. For sure. Kenny Clover says, ATV is active on nearly every ham band in Los Angeles, California. Wi-Fi at the house barely gets out shorter range because 2.4 and 5 gigahertz are amateur bands. Yeah, there's some amateur band in there for sure. Okay, Kenny Clover says, I have a Diamond RH205 big telescopic on my handheld scanner. That's cool. That's a good antenna. I can hear the rail out from the edge of my subdivision. Radiocom says 10 meters, a nice band. I've worked quite a few countries, including Brazil and Puerto Rico and the Falkland Islands here. What's nice on the 10-meter band is that with very little power, boy, can you really go far. Rivalda says, has anyone gotten their hands on the SDS 200? Nathan Bally says, no, a amateur here that uses ATV when he's shooting long distance target practice, a camera plus transmitter near the target. Interesting. Bobby says, so let's just say if there will be a disagreement with regulations, then don't upload it. Technically, you shouldn't. Like I said, it's something that, well, you know what, Jerry? There's probably nobody that's never going to complain about it. You know, technically, if I put a 20-minute video of Radio Romania, well, I'm pretty sure Radio Romania's transmission program is copyrighted. I'm pretty sure they have a copyright on that. They probably have a copyright on the programs. But they're not going to complain, and they're not going to, you know, they just don't care. It's not like posting a video of a song of, you know, Lady Gaga. Then you're going to get hit by a copyright strike quite fast. I have seen tons and tons of videos, honestly, on YouTube of every types of traffic possible, including videos where there's law enforcement, you know, communications on the VHF UHF ranges, and they've been there for years, and nobody has ever complained. Nobody has said anything about it. So, you know, it's just. You know, I think it's a question that as long as there's no complaints, there's nothing bad about it. I mean, I probably work part of the, you know, of course, you got to think about what you put online, and think of the importance of what you put online. I mean, airband communications of a plane or, you know, air traffic, I mean, that's long gone. The moment you post it, it's things that happen that are not going to happen again like that. It's you had that moment in time. It doesn't necessarily give any sensitive information of anything. It's just, you know, planes in the air communicating with the tower. I don't think that will have any problems. I think where problems could be is mostly where you put very sensitive stuff. local police. I don't think the local police would like you to post, a video of them doing whatever maneuver and listening to all the communications from the cops. That's a different story, and that's more sensitive. That might bring you problems. But for the rest, I think for general stuff like air traffic control, I don't think it'll ever have any problems with that. For sure. Well, you know what is interesting about the live feeds, Jerry? And I think that's in another side of things that is interesting. Many have many apps and many websites have live feeds of all sorts of emergency services. You know what? Technically, the feeds are illegal. Technically, rebroadcasting the feed of the police is illegal. It's illegal in the US. It's illegal here in Canada. Yet, they're all over the place. Nobody complains about it. It's simply that. Nobody really complains about it. And that's it. It just goes. If somebody somewhere complains, if a law enforcement decides, I don't want to have New York police live on the internet, now they're going to have to take it off. Pretty much. Bobby Burgess getting a 45-degree pass of AO85. That's a nice one. It's an FM repeater in the sky. It's very, very nice. Yeah, but rebroadcasting it, there's a big difference here, Candy Clover. What I'm saying here is not monitoring of, rebroadcasting of is illegal. In the US and in Canada, it is. It's the rebroadcasting that's illegal. It's not the monitoring that's illegal. You can listen to the cops. You can listen to, anything that's not encrypted and within the bounds of the frequency ranges you're allowed to listen to. You can listen, absolutely. But rebroadcasting it is illegal. That's where, it's that little, understanding the little differences in here. Okay. I'm missing out on the XW2D right now, and let's try it out here. 145-860. And upper sideband. Anything there? Yeah, look at that. So these are satellites, and there's an overlapping of two satellites, XW2D and CAS-4A, both with a pretty good CAS. My cat just meowed. Come on, guys. K8SA, the same guy as earlier. K8SA in Morse code. I'm getting slowly better at my Morse code decoding. Paul the cat wants some food. Take care, Cosmic Lettuce. I'll try to be at the your live show tonight. Anything else here? My cat is going nuts. He wants food. Not a lot of communications. 2 satellites passing over and almost nobody talking. This is one of the biggest problems that's sad, is the fact that there often are nice satellite paths and often not that many amateur operators, especially in the weekdays. I've always been able, Candy Clover, to decode Morse code by ear somewhat, but it has to be slow. It has to be slow. If it's, and it, you know, it repeats. Like here was a CQ call from K8 SA. He repeated his call several times, so I was able to do it. But you know, if you give me a 25 word per minute CW of a text, forget it. I'm not gonna be there. And there are letters I'm kind of more accustomed to and find it easier to decode also. So Mac Reader DX, I thought a ham meowing. Brett Wayne, nice to have you here. KC2NXP. Matt, MDK2, nice to have you on board. So, Mike Hanna says, I have a Burcat 898T scanner. Can I make any kind of antenna just using copper wire for that? Does length of that wire matter? I want to pick up better than what the indoor antenna does now. So you can use wire antennas, but the thing is, you need to be. The problem with a scanner radio, which is much, I would say, much bigger as a problem than most. Oh, AO85 is coming for a pass right now, and it's almost overhead. 145.980. Let me just go back here. 145.980. Let's put it in FM, narrow FM, and FM. So here is the satellite. This one's an FM repeater. Not much of a signal right now. We'll see if it we'll see if anything comes in. AO85. You hear the noise from the repeater of the satellite. There's a W4 station. Man, I hate that overloading that happens from time to time. AO85. There are angles also, by the way. There are angles where that satellite gives a better signal depending on its position with my antenna. So for the wire question, you can take one of the biggest problems is the fact that with a scanner really receiving a very wide range of frequencies, you need more different lengths of wire if you want. Make like dipoles and stuff like that, depending on what you want to listen to. And you'd be surprised if you go up to the 800 megahertz range of how small antennas could be, honestly. I use on my scanner and on my radios this type of this is adjustable telescopic antenna that is a wideband 30 megahertz to 100 megahertz. And what's nice is that you can adjust the number of sections depending on where you listen to. So typically the higher the frequency, the shorter you'll put your antenna to match pretty much the frequency you're listening to. And that works really well. And these are not super expensive. You can have them on eBay. And they're really, really nice. But you can use wire, but it's not like on shortwave. On shortwave, you know, you just throw whatever length of wire, and the longer the better, and that's it. But for VHF to UHF, it's a little more delicate because you have a very wide spectrum of frequencies. You know, remember, from 3 to 30 megahertz on shortwave, you have 27 megahertz of spectrum. On a scanner, for example, here on this thing, 30 megahertz to 2 gigahertz. That is a 1970 megahertz spectrum. It's huge. You can't technically really have a super good antenna for everywhere, because there's so many different frequencies you can tune into, and so many different, they're so far apart. The higher you go in frequency, the shorter the wavelength. So the antenna gets shorter and shorter to be good at that frequency range. Take care, Candy Clover. It's nice to have you on board as usual. So, you know. And you got to just remember, 800. What you need to do is 300 divided by the frequency in megahertz gives you in meters how big it is. There's the one for the feet and inches that I don't remember, but 300 divided by the frequency in megahertz. So 300 divided by 300 megahertz, if you're listening to 300 megahertz, means that, what the hell are you doing here? Don't bite the wire. My cat is biting a wire. I've never seen him do that before. So 800 megahertz, 300 megahertz means it's 1 meter, 3.6. So it's 468 Kelvin for the feet. So if you want to have it in feet, would be what, 468 divided by the frequency in megahertz, and you'll have the number of inches, I guess, something like that. Yeah, Matambali, that's pretty much it. I never seen him do that before. I was like, what the hell? What are you doing biting on the wire there? Okay. So 468 for the inches. I'm a metric guy, so I'm always in meters and kilometers and centimeters. But so 468 divided by the frequency in megahertz will give you the number of inches needed for a dipole. That's nice. But you can, you know, 150 megahertz. 300 divided by 150 megahertz is 2 meters. It's roughly 7.2 feet. 7 feet 2 inches, something like that. I think it's 3 feet 6 inches for a meter, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be 7 feet 2 inches for something like that, I guess. Matt says, I try to do things in metric first, then I use a converter online to translate to feet, even though in American. It comes from being young when we were supposed to adapt to the metric system. Yeah, here it was here we can I grew up in the you know, the inches and the pounds and stuff like that, and then suddenly at school we started having metric when I was younger. So I'm all messed up now. Take care, Bob, guys. It was nice to have you here. And you know, if you don't want to have it too complex on a portable, like I said, the wideband telescopic like I have is nice. And if you have an outdoor antenna, you know what? Just don't go too nuts and get yourself either a discount. You know, I'm surprised at the performance of my vertical, my mobile vertical here. I mean, just an example, NOAA weather. This station is about 100 miles away. It's the U.S. station for NOAA weather.
Like snow. Highs in the upper 20s.
And it's surprising.
And above. Chance of snow 90%.
It says, that's interesting to hear. I remember seeing all the highway speed limit signs in kilometers when I first visited Canada in '83. Yeah, and what happened is when I was very young, they had both miles and kilometers on the highway. And when everybody decided, when the government decided that everybody should be metric, that's where everything became metric, so kilometer signs instead of miles. So, you know. Oh, yeah, absolutely. As Calvin says, vertical probably best for local stuff. You know, like for example, when I listen to satellites, my vertical has, the problem that it has is simple, is that when you are listening to satellites, what happens is when they are, you know, 20, 30, 40 degrees elevation, they're within the range of my vertical antenna that typically wants to listen to signals horizontally. So as the satellites move up and get overhead, that's where I have a spot where I will have kind of a big dip in the signal level. So for example, if I hear a NOAA weather satellite, I will choose a pass that's, you know, 50, 60 degrees would be a good one for me, because it will give me a good signal overall. But if I have one pass that's a 90 degrees pass and it comes overhead, or 80 degrees, well, overhead the vertical is deaf. So I'll have a good signal, and as the sunlight reaches maybe 70 degrees, I start having a dip, and then it really a big dip where I'll hear almost nothing. And then as it goes through the other side and goes away, and the elevation goes down again, that dip, the signal comes back again, and I hear it, because my vertical, that's the problem, is totally deaf just overhead. So that's one of the problems with satellites. So I'd rather I will tend to favor a satellite pass that will be a 60-degree pass than one that's 90 degrees, because I'll have that dip where I don't hear anything for a couple of minutes. We're here for that, Mike Hanna. Help out and ask questions, and everybody help each other. Yeah, Jerry, my sloper does pretty well also. If it wasn't for the noise, it'd be very, very surprised at what I can get. David Arden says he can get a wideband discount antenna for about $70 US. Be sure to get LMR 499 or better cable. LMR 400 probably. Yeah, especially if you listen to very high frequencies. Like here, I don't have good coax, and when I go on to the very high frequencies, I see that there's a lot of loss. It really has a lot of loss. Take care, Radio Comms. Nice to have you on board. We'll be back, of course, for the Shortwave Show Friday, February 1st. Bobby Burgess, a telewhip can perform like a mobile vertical, right? Well, anything that is a whip is like a mobile vertical. It's just the it's just that it depends on its its frequency coverage, its resonance, the way that it's done. The one I have here, the mobile vertical, is a wideband one. It's a 30 megahertz. It was written on the package that it was 30 megahertz to 1300 megahertz, and I believe, if I remember well, I believe it was suited for 2 meter and 70 centimeter transmit also. But that's a long time, and I don't have the package, and I don't even know what's the brand of that antenna anymore. So I don't really know. Yes, Mr. Cat, I know you want food. So hey guys, I'm going to call it quits for tonight. I hope you enjoyed today's show for VHF UHF. Of course, this is a monthly show. We'll be back on the last Saturday of each month. We'll be back with the Shortwave Show this coming Friday at 2000 hours UTC. For those that listen in, don't forget, tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 15:30 UTC, via ckut.ca. If you want to stream it, you can hear the International Radio Report, which I will be part of with Sheldon and David on our local station here, 90.3 FM in Montreal. So if you guys want to listen to that, and of course you can stream it on ckut.ca. No problem, Matt. There's no problem there. I can tell you that. So take care, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks, everyone, for being great fans. Don't forget, you can help out with donations. PayPal.me/shortwave or at the Yahoo email, and Patreon.com/radiocomputers. And thanks, everybody, for being here. See you Friday, 2000 hours UTC. We're already going to be in February. This is just incredible. So, really nice to have you all here. We'll try to make this end. I will be messing with NOAA weather satellites a lot in the next few days. I want to have a nice, beautiful image to post in the VHF UHF channel for sure, and play around with that. And thanks for all the help, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for being great fans. Without you guys, there wouldn't be any shows. And see you all soon. Take care, my friends. And hope you enjoyed today's show. Bye-bye.